In part one, we pulled back the curtain on the gritty reality of the Wild West, exposing the truth about food, travel, and the ever-present threat of violence. But trust me, the brutality didn't stop there. In this episode, we're digging even deeper to uncover the diseases, the grueling work, and the forgotten stories of the women who lived it, truths that Hollywood never dared to show you. So saddle up, because we're about to bust some more myths. Let's talk about something Hollywood conveniently leaves out: getting sick. On the frontier, medical care was practically non-existent. Forget sterile operating rooms and miracle drugs. If you were lucky enough to find a doctor, their toolkit probably consisted of whiskey for anesthetic, a few herbs, and a whole lot of guesswork. A simple cut from a rusty nail or a fall from a horse could easily lead to a fatal infection. There were no antibiotics, no understanding of germs, and hygiene was a foreign concept. Imagine surgery being performed on a dusty saloon table with unwashed hands and a dirty knife. It's a terrifying thought, but it was the reality. Childbirth was incredibly dangerous for women, with high mortality rates for both mother and child. And then there were the epidemics. Diseases we barely worry about today, like cholera, dysentery, and smallpox, swept through settlements and trail drives like wildfire. With no vaccines and no effective treatments, these outbreaks could wipe out entire towns, leaving behind a trail of heartbreak and desolation. The West wasn't just one with guns. It was a constant battle against invisible enemies that claimed far more lives than any outlaw. The strong didn't always survive. Sometimes it was just the lucky. Now, let's get to the heart of it all: the cowboy. Hollywood paints him as a romantic hero, a free-spirited wanderer riding off into the sunset. The reality: being a cowboy was back-breaking, low-wage labor. These weren't gunslinging adventurers. They were essentially migrant workers on horseback. A cowboy's day started long before the sun came up and ended well after it set. The job was monotonous and exhausting, herding thousands of cattle across hundreds of miles of unforgiving terrain. They spent months on the trail, sleeping on the hard ground with only a thin bedroll for comfort, regardless of the weather. They endured blistering heat, torrential rain, and sudden blizzards. They faced the constant threat of stampedes, which could crush a man in seconds, and rustlers, who were more likely to shoot you in the back than challenge you to a duel. For all this hardship, the pay was pitiful, around $1 a day. Many cowboys were young, some just teenagers, and their careers were often cut short by accidents, violence, or the diseases we just talked about. It was a life defined by grit and endurance, not glamour and glory. And what about the women of the West? Their stories are some of the most overlooked and misrepresented. Hollywood often reduces them to saloon girls or damsels in distress, but the truth is far more complex and inspiring. Life on the frontier was incredibly tough for women. Many arrived with their families only to be widowed young and left to manage a farm or ranch on their own. They had to be just as tough, resourceful, and resilient as any man to survive. They ran businesses, from boarding houses to general stores. They worked the land, raised children in isolation, and defended their homes. Yes, some women were forced into difficult circumstances, working in brothels out of desperation. But even their lives were a testament to survival in a world with few options. And then there were the trailblazers, women who defied every convention. Women like Annie Oakley became world-famous sharpshooters. Others, like Calamity Jane, lived life on their own terms, blurring the lines between male and female roles. There were women who became powerful landowners and community leaders. Their contributions were essential to building the West, and their stories of courage and perseverance deserve to be told. So, let's break down the biggest Hollywood myths one by one. The clean-shaven, dashing hero in a crisp shirt? Forget it. The real cowboy was covered in dirt, dust, and grime for weeks on end. Baths were a luxury, and clean clothes were even rarer. That dramatic high-noon duel in the middle of Main Street has almost never happened. Most gunfights were chaotic, clumsy, and often cowardly ambushes. A fair fight was a fantasy. And those glamorous saloons with swinging doors and piano players? In reality, they were often dark, dirty, and dangerous places filled with desperate men, heavy drinking, and the constant potential for violence. Hollywood sold us a cinematic dream, an exciting adventure filled with clear-cut heroes and villains. But the real Wild West wasn't a movie set. It was a place of immense hardship, where survival was a daily struggle against the elements, disease, and human nature itself. The stories are entertaining, sure, but the raw, unfiltered truth is so much more compelling and powerful. It honors the people who actually lived and died in that unforgiving land. The Wild West was not a land of legends and romantic heroes. It was a brutal, unforgiving world where ordinary people faced extraordinary challenges every single day. The real stories aren't always pretty, but they are a testament to human resilience. If this dose of reality surprised you, share it with someone who still believes the Hollywood version. Subscribe for more uncensored history, and let's keep telling the stories that Hollywood forgot. Thanks for watching.